Thank you very much for joining us today for our monthly tips and tricks session.
So some of you guys are familiar faces, so thank you very much for joining me. And if I've not spoken to you before, thank you also for joining. Matt is the manager of the digital marketing team, and so I will be letting him jump in a little bit here too. But my role with Global Reach is often it's SEO copywriting, but it's also a lot of times digital strategy overall, and figuring out how your digital marketing efforts can intertwine and have much more of a holistic approach, right? And so often clients are asking us, especially in consulting sessions, what's some quote unquote low-hanging fruit that is easy to at least get my foot in the door, something that would be super helpful for us to at least start making sure we're taking advantage of, something important. And Matt and I almost always, when we worked together and we were in these meetings in person, we'd turn and look at each other and we could almost say it simultaneously: Google My Business. So Google My Business is a fantastic platform that is provided by Google and allows for you to update information. Now, here's the kicker, and I really want you to take this to heart. Like anything, it looks easy when you make it look easy. And there's a lot of nooks and crannies and easy things that you could overlook and you could miss that are huge opportunities in terms of SEO. So I think the most important thing to remember is that Google is first and foremost an answer machine. If you have a question about anything on the planet, the first thing that you're going to do 9 times out of 10 is Google it. And so, Google wants to make sure that they're providing the best possible answers every single time. And so when it comes to businesses, how does Google determine which business to reference, which business to give a reference to? And sometimes that comes down to location. A lot of times that plays into it. Sometimes that comes down to best content. Sometimes that comes down to certain specific keywords, but it's not just a keywords game. You want to put a lot of research into anything you do SEO related to make sure that you're not just using keywords, but long tail keywords, which is, several keywords strung together. The average Google search is at least 4 words long or more. Okay, so making sure that you have your related keywords, things that people might be searching for, all of that kind of needs to be in the forefront of your mind before you jump into optimizing Google My Business. So what is Google My Business? Google My Business is a free tool and that is provided by Google to businesses that have a physical location. It is designed to give people an opportunity to tell their story. It helps you manage your online presence. It helps you explain, what your business is about and alternately what it's not about. It also provides a platform for people to reach out and tell others about you and provide reviews, but at the same token gives you a chance to reach out and respond to those reviews and interact with people. And so the more information that you give your Google My Business profile, well, generally speaking, the more information you give Google, the better it knows what you're a good source to reference people, what kind of answers you can provide to people searching. Right now, you're looking at kind of the back end of one of our 2 different Google My Business profiles. We have one for our Ames location, one for our Des Moines location. Some of our clients have 8 locations, so they have 8 different Google My Business accounts, all of which needed to be optimized and needed to be set up in a certain way. So that's a little tricky sometimes. There's a lot of stuff that you don't want to miss, and it would be easy to miss. So when we say, what does a Google My Business profile look like? If you type in any business that has a Google My Business profile, it'll come up. So if I search for Global Reach Internet Productions, Ames, okay? The first thing that's going to come up is this. This is your Google My Business profile. This is what it looks like on the front end. And what you can see right there is photos. You can see the map location of where it is. You can see a link to the website. You can see directions. You can call directly from here. So if you're looking on your phone, because the huge majority of traffic is done on mobile, you can see reviews. So what people think about this business. It has the physical location. It has the hours of operation. And I'm going to get into all of this in a little bit. And then it says, if you know this place, you can share info. So if there's something that they've missed, you can provide a recommendation. And so, and then there's questions and answers. So if there's certain FAQ that people ask, you can have that set up. Different reviews and different posts. So what you'll notice about this is that the average search engine results page doesn't look like this. So for example, if I just do, actually, let's duplicate this page so I can show it for comparison here. But if I just do web development, okay, it pulls up the definition of that word. Sometimes it won't even do that. And it pulls up a bunch of ads, boatload of ads, and then, different locations near me that have it. Notice we popped up here. This is partially because we've completed our Google My Business listing. And you might be thinking, well, Steve, you're in Ames, so of course they're going to pop up. Actually, I'm not. I'm in Marshalltown right now. I'm telecommuting. So the fact that we pop up here means that because I'm in a 45-mile, 50-mile radius of Ames, and it's a web development company, there you go. So it's right now what it's providing is information on web development in general. What's really interesting about this is that even when it doesn't have this, we've all seen the search results page that are just full text. Well, here, without even really trying, we're dominating the entire first page of Google. This is what pops up. People are visual creatures, so they see these images and they see this interactive stuff. Suddenly, any ads that our competitors may have taken out using our name as one of the keywords to get found for kind of ends up being in the background a little bit because this Google My Business profile exists. So all of this obviously, that when I say it provides a great competitive advantage, that's what I'm talking about. It's a low time investment just to set up the basics of it, not necessarily go in and optimize it. That can take quite a bit of time, but to just set up what you need to, it's a low investment in time, has a really high ROI in terms of SEO value. In fact, according to Google, and this has been independently verified by Hootsuite, 70% of customers that were surveyed said that they're more likely to visit a business, both virtually and physically go there in normal situations, non-COVID times, if they have a complete Google My Business listing. That's a really powerful statistic. 70% of people who see your listing on Google My Business are more likely to go to you. So it's important to take advantage of this easy to use free tool, essentially. And if you have any issues or questions about your Google My Business, there's different types of Google My Business accounts and there's different types of listings. That's why we're here. So if you ever have questions about that, we're happy to answer them for you. But now you get to see what that looks like. Now on the front end of that, you'll notice that when I typed in global reach, this one came up. There's actually two different listings. There's the Ames listing and the Des Moines listing. On the back end of it, it looks like this. There's quite a bit of information here. And Google has really opened this up quite a bit with COVID-19. With COVID-19 happening, they want to make sure that you can list your business hours if they've changed. If you have specific COVID updates that you want to put out, that's there. The service availability, that sort of thing. So there's a lot here. This is the landing page. There's a lot here. And you want to make sure that you are giving people the best opportunity to get the most out of the information that you're providing. So I'm going to list out a series of tips on the best practices for basic optimization of Google My Business to get the most SEO value. Because everything that you enter here is keyword information that ultimately ties back to your website. So the first thing that we're going to actually go to is info. And on the info section, this is where you tell people what services you provide specifically. So these are essentially your core keywords that you want to get found for, your service areas that you prefer to help people in, your actual address, your hours of operation, your holidays that you might be closed on, you can put here, phone numbers you can be reached at, the @ here, which is an easy way to share, your primary web address, you can set up an appointment to get appointments. So all of this stuff is on the info tab, and then you can even put in a little section here about your about what it is you do, and then the year that you opened and all that fun stuff. You can also add in photos and things like that. Matt, you look like you're itching to chime in.
Yep. If you go back to that page, there was for the @ section. That's a great way to share your review section. So when you create that, it'll pop up a URL that you'll want to save, and that'll allow you to create something. We have some clients on their websites that they put right on there, review us on Google. Well, it's the link from this. So it sends and I'm trying to think of a client that has that off the top of my head. Do we show an example? What was that? Is it Column Electric?
They do, and I think also another client would be Gutterworks.
Yeah, well, and
that landing
that's an
page.
easy way to get reviews on Google, which helps with your authority in Google, and that's how you land higher in those search results. Since as Steve was stating earlier, he's in Marshalltown, but they put us up. We're from Ames, and it usually goes by location, and that's mainly because we've shown our authority in that area.
Yep. And and when he says shown authority, so here's an interesting point. When we say showing authority, it's not saying we're the authoritative figure. What it's saying more specifically is that we have proven to Google that when people search for things, we provide information and services that are relevant to those search terms. And the way that it can tell that is by things like your bounce rate. So if somebody clicks on a link that goes to your website and then backs out right away, that's an abandon, that's really bad, it affects your bounce rate. However, if they stay on that for a little bit longer, for longer periods of time, more than 3 seconds specifically, then Google knows that, okay, that was a pretty good reference. That was not a bad thing. It's kind of like the algorithm is a human being making referrals to others and wants to make sure it's giving the best possible referral, because that's on our name. It's our, credibility. So when you have authority in an area, it's basically saying that of all of the services that provide, or all of the companies that provide similar services, you have the most information and the most relevant depth that you can provide and the best related services. So how it ranks people, that's a whole nother training, but basically how it ranks people is based on, how many reviews do people have? How much do people engage with it? How much content have you provided? And all of that plays in and has a relevance overall. So yeah, absolutely. Sharing your link and getting people to give you reviews. Sharing your personal link and getting people to give you reviews is so valuable because it's social proof, essentially. When we're in the buying cycle for any product or service, often the first thing we do once we've recognized that we have a need is we'll info seek and we'll check our own personal references and say, okay, where do I know? What have I seen before? And that's what in digital marketing, that's when you're getting yourself in front of those clients. But then you go one step further and you start Googling, or you'll ask your friends. And when you Google stuff, I know for myself, when I'm about to buy something, if I'm at a store and I'm making a bigger purchase, say for like a lawnmower or something, I'm not just going to buy the one that looks cool or meets the criteria. A lot of times I'll actually see if I can find relevant reviews in Google. And so for products specifically, a lot of times they have actual Google reviews on that, or they look on the web for different reviews. So it's really important to get as many positive reviews as possible. One of our clients that's really, really good at this, because we help manage their Google listings and their Google My Business and things like that, we see it, but at least 2 to 3 times a day, we see so-and-so left a 5-star review on Google My Business for you. And we ask them, how do you do that? And it turns out that after every job they complete, they send out a thank you email. They recap the job that they did and encourage customers, if they have any questions, to reach out. But then they say, please take a few minutes to complete a review. And that's it. And so these guys are not even like hardcore soliciting to get positive reviews. They're just sending out a link and saying, hey, now that this job is done and it's fresh in your mind and you're happy, do me a favor, fill out this review. And I think I can't think of a time. There might have been 1 or 2 times total in the last year that I've been with this department that I've seen anything less than a 5-star review come through. So, at 1 to 2 a day, that tells you quite a bit here. So you can view and see how you show up on Google search, which when we click on that, you can see, boom, it's the same thing that I showed you before. And, oh, no, I don't need to do that. Okay. But also share your business profile. So when you click on this, it's going to give you a link, and it's this link right here. And so then you can, and it also, to make it easier, it says, okay, here's Facebook, WhatsApp, and Twitter. So if you want to do that, if you want to share it by email, or you just copy the link. So as you can tell, it's a really easy short link. It's g.page/ whatever you had set up down here. Now, each location, this is a really important key point. Each location, if you have multiple Google My Business listings, is going to have a different short link. So you can also do, you can set up the various services. You can actually go through and add your own photos. Matt is very guilty of this. And here's the kicker about photos. There's different types of photos that you're going to want to post. You want to post exterior pictures where it's relevant. And with our building, this is an exterior shot right here. And you'll notice there's been 25,000 views of this. It's since 2015. You want to do pictures of your products. And that's why we have this image, which is a picture of our website and is technically a product. You want to have interior pictures, which this is our old office and myself and Eric and our ugly sweaters and Audra. And then pictures of your people at work or team photos. So we've had all kinds of holiday parties. This is our Cypress holiday party. This is Eric and I at a big event that we did in Des Moines, I want to say. This is a Halloween party that was after hours Halloween party, and then some of the awards that we've won. So you can have different types of shots, and that's kind of a big deal. Before I hand it over to Matt to talk a little bit more about the best ways to use these pictures, I'm going to touch on two other things, and then I'm going to hand it over to Matt, and then we'll do a quick Q&A for any questions you guys might have. Another big underutilized tool that you can use with Google My Business. Some of you may remember Google+. Well, Google+ was the attempt to kind of compete with Facebook and MySpace and Twitter. And basically they realized, this isn't being used the way we want it to. So they took a lot of the features that were available in Google+, they merged it in, and now you can do posts on Google My Business. And there are different types of posts you can do. COVID-19 updates, which you should not use unless it is relevant to COVID-19. And then there's offers you can add, updates, events, products. There's a lot of different types of posts that you can do. But even what's new. So this right here is the most recent post we did, which was about this training session. Before that, it was a blog. It was about a new blog situation that we've done. So anytime that you share different content on your website, like if you do a blog and then you go ahead and promote that on Facebook or LinkedIn, then setting up and doing a post on it for what's new is a great idea. Just make sure you add a picture or a video, have a little bit of information on there. And then what's really important that you want to know is, first off, you got to know your limits. So you can use 1,500 characters, but the first 7 to 8 words are kind of critical. They're what appear usually above the fold, so to speak. So when we looked at this, that's the first 7 to 8 words at most. Google My Business is often, right? So that's quote unquote above the fold. So you want to make sure that that's what grabs people's attention. I would say, all of it has SEO value, but for click-through value, your post can be usually between 150 to 600 characters to get the most bang for the buck. So you're not going to see the full blog here, but you might see the highlights of it. Photos, videos are a good way to showcase your post. But then also you'll notice that Google offers call to action buttons. So you want to use them. They're customizable for whatever the type of post is. And you can do multiples. So this was about our Silver Jubilee, as we called it. So this one has not only this little short video, but it also has some other promotional images as well. And having this scroll bar makes it more interactive. And then the last session that we had, so you can do all kinds of fun stuff, holiday posts, all that great stuff. Posts last for about 7 days if you don't change, if you don't set it, because you can set it to last a little longer. And then something that I've learned through trial and error, always double check. Check the preview for formatting, for spelling. And then I highly recommend that you add Google My Business posting to your social media strategy, your social media calendar, and your social media consumer and customer strategy. And then check your analytics and stuff often. So that's pretty much the main key points that I wanted to touch on. I do have other things, obviously. I could talk about this for 3 hours, but I shouldn't do that. But Matt has some amazing insights about the Osmo and about that sort of thing. So yeah, Matt.
Okay, I'm going to be going over mainly just this is going to be very quick. If you go down to pictures or photos, Okay, you have different categories of pictures. You have by owner, by customer, 360 videos, interior, exterior, at work, team, et cetera, et cetera. You should have images on every one of these. These are very easy to add. Once you've added it, when you click on the image, it'll give you a drop down where it's going to live. I would recommend doing all of them. Like I said, this Osmo is a great thing to do for 360s, which ours are not done a lot yet. I haven't been at the office a lot since I've been preaching about doing this, so it's been a little. I need to get in there and do it since no one's there now. But that allows you to what used to cost thousands of dollars. People used to stop at offices all the time and say, "Do you want me to do your 360 pictures or your walkthrough of your office?" Well, now that's something that you could do yourself. You can even do a video walkthrough with this, where it'll follow you as you walk through. It gives you an easy handle to put your phone in. Actually, I'll just turn it on now so you can see it with my broken phone. And then when you have it, as long as I don't have it upside down, my phone's a little big for this. Yep. But you could change orientation, which I need to flip my phone over. It's, again, my phone's very, very large. So I recommend if you're using this, I had an Apple and it worked phenomenal. When I switched to my Android for my drone reasons, it caused a lot of issues. But you could go up and down, or you could turn it sideways, and the camera will go front or back. So you could actually just hold it back, kind of like a selfie stick in some ways. And you could do a video. It also has a spot on the bottom that you could hook a tripod to it. So it's easy to set up a 360 picture, have it facing the opposite way of you. And if you're doing your office where you don't want to be involved in the picture, you can get out and hide before the picture is completely around. And that gives you a full view where people can see your office before they even show up, or your business, or whatever you're trying to promote with the image. It's a great way to use marketing assets, not just for Google My Business. Once you take these photos, those are marketing assets you can use for years. I mean, that's depends on what you're taking photos of. If you're using your staff, those are great for social posts, not just for Google My Business, but for Facebook, Twitter, or any other social channel you're on. Same with the 360 photos. 360 photos are amazing in Facebook. They give a different perspective, and you can even use those as your cover photo on Facebook. So if you're very proud of your office, you can do a 360 photo and put it as your cover photo on Facebook. So it's not just utilized in Google My Business where it might not be seen. Another way you could utilize those photos, if you have those photos and it's a product, put your logo on it. Put a huge logo on it so you're branding yourself. People will pull that image up if they're searching for something that's related to your business that brings that up for what if they want to see your work. Make sure you have your brand right on it so people can see that it's you. I do that for my drone business. When I do drone photos, I'll go to places like Ledges and I put all kinds of photos on there, and I have a huge Caesar's aerial marketing right on it. So when people go to it and they think this is an awesome photo, they see not just my name in the left side, they also see my logo. So I'm working on my brand awareness. So it's got multiple uses. So I highly recommend it, or just use your phone to its full potential if you don't know how to use, or if you don't want to buy an Osmo. But these are very cheap. They're only around $100. It's hard to pass up something that could create thousands of dollars in revenue.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Matt. So I noticed that we did get a question in the chat, and Matt addressed it briefly. I want to talk about that real quick. Reviews. So we get asked a lot about reviews. One of them is, how do you delete negative reviews? Somebody said something awful, and I absolutely know for a fact that this isn't true. How can I get rid of it? The bad news is you can't. You personally can't. Only the original poster can remove the review. But what you can do is bury it with really good reviews that are honest and sincere, and that's why we push that. Now, we will say that it is not only just a best practice, but an industry best practice. No matter what industry you're in, you should respond to all reviews, positive, negative, whatever. A great example of somebody who does that very, very well is Don Hummer Trucking. They get tons of reviews on both Facebook and on Google My Business, and most of them are from drivers who are super satisfied, super happy. Some of them are employees who have had to be laid off. So maybe they got a 1-star review because they had to be laid off. Well, that may not, you don't know the full story. And usually the people who leave negative reviews do so because they had an experience and just need to vent, and sometimes they want to hurt the company. So what I will say is that it's a lot like in management, which is where I'm sure anybody who's a leader has heard this phrase: praise in public, reprimand in private. And it's the same thing with responding to Google reviews. If somebody gives you a review and it's negative, take it as a personal thing, not in the sense that they're attacking you, but they had such a moment that impacted them personally that they wanted to say something publicly about it. So the way that you can address that is say, I'm really sorry you had that experience. We'd love to discuss it further. Why don't you give us a call or email us at blank? Or if there's anything we can do to help, let us know. Something along those lines. And 9 times out of 10, they won't respond anymore. They won't push the envelope any further. But it shows people who are scrolling through and see that one negative review out of 30 good ones that you care enough that you're not just going to ignore it, that you're not looking for an echo chamber of positive stuff. On the flip side, if somebody leaves you a 5-star review, make it personal. It's good to at least say, hey, thank you for leaving the 5-star review, but use their name. Thank you, Lisa, for leaving that 5-star review. We really do appreciate it. We're happy that you were happy with whatever the service is. So take a minute to actually acknowledge it, have a personal connection, and Google likes it when you engage. So from an actual technical standpoint, it shows that the big business engages with people, and it's all about having a positive experience. But it also is really great free PR, frankly. So as far as actual reviews, that's my thoughts on that.
Well, and just to chime in a little further on that, reviews are a great way not to only, I guess, show clients that you're interacting with people, that you're potential prospects, or however you want to, however you're bringing those people in. It's a great way to review your business. If you get a lot of bad reviews, maybe it's time to look at your culture, your business in general. Is it a legitimate bad review? Is it something that policy wise you need to change? It's right now that the eyes of the users are pretty much, they want to find people that are interactive. And I guess, Steve, you probably have better terms for this, but it's people aren't looking for companies that are ignoring the public.
Yeah.
They want that interaction.
Yeah. Attention is currency, and actual engagement with people is priceless. I mean, word of mouth has always traditionally been the best possible advertisement, right? Well, reviews and companies engaging. It's like on social. We did last week, I think it was, we talked about social media and how to incorporate that. Not last week, last month, how to incorporate social into your strategy. And ultimately what you need to realize is that if a company if somebody reaches out to your company, they're doing so because they care on some level, right? So it's a great opportunity for you to take advantage of and show that you care back. Let me ask you this, and this is rhetorical and hypothetical, and a lot of you guys have yourselves muted, and that's probably a good thing, but do you care when a customer's pissed off? Maybe that's not the most professional verbiage, but honestly, do you? You should say yes. You should say yes. And if you're saying no, you might want to look at how you're running your business. But ultimately, a customer experience is everything. And frankly, competition is higher than it's ever been. Business online is booming and is just continuing to grow, especially with COVID. So any opportunity that you can show that people matter to you as a company and as a brand and as a culture, the better off you're going to be. Reviews are a great way to do that. Responding to comments is a great way to do that. Highlighting your clients is a great way to do that. We do Feature Fridays at Global Reach where we highlight certain clients we've worked with and just talk about them. It's sharing their story. And obviously sometimes you're in a situation where you have confidentiality, so you can't do that, but you can still say, hey, we love working in this industry. You can generalize it like that. So that's off the beaten path a little bit. Sorry. I do that. I can't help it. So
I think it's probably time to
questions. That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah. So we'll open this up to questions now, whether it's about Google My Business, what Steve just talked about, or anything else web related. So you can put them in the chat there or just shout it out if you have a question.
Okay, so it looks like Lisa's asking about posting. So some of you may or may not be able to see the chat. Feel free to ask your questions there. If you want to unmute yourself, you can as well. So we'll kind of tackle it one at a time. Matt, what are your thoughts on posting to Google My Business? You want to tackle that?
Yeah, I can tackle that. I think you should kind of optimize per channel. Twitter is definitely a different channel than LinkedIn or Google My Business. You don't want to have the same information on, or you want the same style of post, but you want different verbiage. For one thing, Twitter is you have a lot less characters you can put in there, so you might not be able to have the same amount of characters as you Google My Business. So you might want to reformat each one of those to be specific for those platforms, which takes time, but you're also catering to that platform. So you're going to get a better response.
Good. Yeah, that's a great point. So now Sarah was asking about the Google 3-pack and wants to know about whether or not it's just feeding from the Google My Business. That's a whole nother, that's an hour and a half topic right there. I mean, what it all comes down to is if you want to get the very, very top, utilizing it is a good thing to do. I mean, ultimately, it kind of ties back to what Lisa was saying. The best thing that you can possibly do is put out a lot of high quality content on all your platforms, frankly, but especially on your website. One of the things that Google ties into as much as possible is relevant content. So you can have the best information in the world, and because it's been cited a billion times, you're going to show up on page one. But if you have updates to that amazing content, it's going to keep you on page one for a very, very long time. So relevant, updated content is a big deal. As far as, getting on that 3 restaurants, like this, say it's restaurants, for example, the top 3 restaurants or the top 3 whatever near me, as far as that little map pack goes. I mean, the way that we were on there for ours earlier, I was showing for web development is because we have proven that we're the most authoritative.
It's
that's
relevance. It's Google wants to provide relevant search results. Steve said this multiple times, and I used to kind of disagree with it, but he's 100% true. Google wants to Google wants to give you a result back similar to what a human would. And if they're not providing that, you're going to go to Bing. You're going to go somewhere else. You're going to go to a different, which that's a long shot, but you would go to a different search engine. Google would not be what they are. If they were just giving you relevant search results, why would you want to go there? And they give search results by where people pretty much their algorithm takes a bunch of websites and says, okay, millions of people have clicked here. Let's put that number 1. Under 1 million have clicked here. Let's put that number 2. So they're going by what people have interacted on the website. If there's no interaction, you're not going to be in that 3-pack. And then you need to look at your SEO. You need to look at your digital marketing strategy. What are you doing wrong compared to your competitors? Look at what they've done to get in that 3-pack. Look at that person in that spot. If you want to be that number 1 person, you have to mimic them for a little while and then start stepping outside of what they're doing, what they're missing. So you have to kind of do a gap analysis on what you're doing wrong.
And I'm going to actually kind of piggyback on that a little bit. When we this is probably really to fine tune the answer, Sarah, is that for those that don't know, when she says the Google 3-pack, she's talking about getting listed on Google Maps as one of the top 3 businesses. And how Google chooses which businesses go there is based on 4 primary things. The first thing is your location. So if I search for very specific keyword terms, no matter how tuned in my website is to hit that and all relevant keywords, Matt is in Washington State right now. If he Googles it, it may not bring me up in that 3-pack because I'm not physically near his location. So that's the first thing it's going to look at is the physical location of the person doing the query. Are they within a 50-mile radius of that, or even better, a 10-mile radius of your business? The second thing they're looking for is your search history and relevance. Do you have a history of interacting with this industry, this specific business? The third thing, I said there's 4 things. The third thing is your Google reviews, okay? Google wants to give the best possible reference. So if you have 87 5-star reviews and your competitor who is physically closer to them has 2 reviews and they're 2 stars each, You may both show up on there, but being a 5-star review, you are a safer bet as someone that Google should refer. So that it's controlling your brand. And then the third thing is overall relevance. So when you search for something, Google is actually considering not just the specific keywords you use, but things that are related. That's why you see the "did you mean" when you type something in and it starts auto-completing it. It's finding related keywords. So if you're getting listed for other related things, not just that thing, that's going to help solidify it. I mean, ultimately, you can't request, demand, pay a certain amount of money to show up in that spot. I mean, there's ads, but the best way to do it is just to make sure that your overall SEO strategy is on point. I think ultimately what it comes down to is that you want to consider Google as part of your branding strategy. I mean, especially if you're trying to establish a name for yourself, especially in a highly saturated market, it's important to make sure that you're keeping all of this present in mind. And that's why we thought that this would be a really good topic for training. So I will tell you, by the way, if there's anybody whose questions we don't get to in this session, feel free to reach out to us either at connect@globalreach.com or SEO@globalreach.com. And we'd be happy to kind of set up a one-on-one kind of consulting session or respond via email as well. We're more than happy to do that too. That is not an open letter saying we will give you free consulting forever, but that is saying that if there's something we can do, we'll help you. So Lisa Novak had asked, she said, go ahead.
Yeah, and I could chime in on for the address. Make sure that I'm trying to find that setting because this is what I was talking about earlier. You could have it where you check directly. Oh my gosh, in Google My Business where it says this address is not a location that people go to. Now I might have to send you an email and tell you this because I got to find it now.
It's a weird situation. The city just made up an address. And so now when people search it,
Has she claimed her business?
I'm sorry?
Has she claimed her Google My Business? Because she should be able to change that.
He did. But his address, for some reason, on Google Maps comes up in the neighboring city as opposed to the correct city.
He would have to change his address, and a lot of times that'll come with a verification postcard. Google sends a postcard to verify it. So once he changes his address, it should let him fix that.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. And that's a big part of it too, is making sure that your information is relevant. I know that when so Global Reach right before the pandemic, we actually moved up a floor. We went from Suite 110 up to Suite 210, or I think it was 101 to 210. But regardless, we had to let Google know that we had moved, even though we were physically in the same building. Having that information up to date is really important, especially if the new tenants of the old suite want to claim their Google My Business listing and they can't because we already have. It doesn't really work well. Matt, you have something to say?
Yeah, I'm actually going to share my screen real quick. Here's another thing that he could check. Make sure that when you're putting your address in, sometimes this little pin, you have to move around to tell where it's at. And if it's in a different city, then it's going to give people directions to the wrong spot. Like if I took Global Reach right now and put us over here in Vermeer, when people come and search for us, they're going to go to Vermeer. So it could be that. I'm still trying to find the setting that I was talking about, but as soon as I find it, I'll definitely let everybody know. Gosh, I could have swore it used to be right here. So maybe Google changed. They changed weekly, so it definitely could have happened.
Remember when we said that it looks easy? Even to the pros, sometimes we struggle to find stuff.
Well, again, it's Google changes so much. I'll open Google My Business to do a training, and I'll be like, "What is this setting?" And it's right in the middle of a training, so I look kind of stupid but it's Google changes. We get emails weekly on something Google has changed, and
sometimes daily.
It's kind of daunting. That's why we want to give these trainings, because I think it's the general overview of what is going on here it's very important for people. They need to know how to use this, why to use it, and how important it is. I mean, there's my brother was just actually, he follows a guy that's one of the top. Hold on, I'll pull his name up. He's a great person to follow.
Steve Edelman. That's who it was.
Peter
right?
Peter Trost. He at
Oh, okay.
Energy Circle. He is one of the top marketers for pretty much the energy field. He's a genius. I've listened to him speak a few times, and he's this week my brother's the one who brought him up, and I've listened to some of his. He just did a Google My Business video a few days ago, and as he was mentioning it, is that Google My Business is taking over pretty much results. It's taking over the website. Saying if somebody finds you through a Google My Business listing, do they even need to go to your website? I mean, that's making people question, do I even need a website? And I feel very against that. I think websites for brand awareness, if you don't have a website, you can't brand yourself properly in Google. You might be able to throw your logo on there, but that's not all a brand is. It's just a logo. So it's Google My Business is becoming very powerful. It's people use it. That's about 50% of your organic search is coming from Google My Business. So
Well,
I would
on
make
top
sure
of that,
you utilize it.
70% of people who, like I said earlier, 70% of people are more likely to visit a business if they have an optimized Google My Business listing. Now, I have to chime in here because I know we're getting short on time, and this is a critical warning to anybody. Do not, under any circumstances, go to the website side. On the side there's all these different options. Don't click on
Right
website.
here.
Don't do
It'll automatically change your URL here.
Basically, what it tries to do is get Google to build you a website for your business if you don't have one. And then Google will automatically assume that that is your web address. So all of the hard work that you do for SEO, you're creating great blogs with tons of great content and keywords, and you've put tons of research into it, and you've spent, hundreds of dollars for a copywriter or whatever, yeah, you can really hurt yourself. So that's the one thing I wish wasn't even there.
And then you'll be waiting on Google to fix that, which sometimes Google's not the fastest. They're fast in their updates, but they're not fast in helping you. So
weird.
You might be waiting 24 to 48 hours for your URL to correct itself in Google.
Or longer. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a big warning. If you're going to go through and explore this or play around in here, that's great, but do not click website because it'll definitely cause more headaches than you want to deal with.
Take it from our experience.
I'm not saying I've done it. I'm just saying anyway.
I have.
So way to own it. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And next month we will be doing this again on the 1st of the month.
First Thursday.
First Thursday. Thank you. And you can register on the website, but we'll also have it on Facebook. We'll have an event that you can see what the subject is and all that fun stuff. So
Facebook and Google My Business.
Yes. Thank you.
We will set up an event on Google My Business also. I've been pushing. We will have that done within the next week. We're going to figure out our topics and start getting this a little quicker than the week before. So this is we'll have some emails out a little sooner than we have in the past.
Yep. And then the only thought I want to throw out there, I'm sorry, I'm not concise, but I will throw this out. For those that don't know, Global Reach, we've been known for being a web development company, but our services expand so far beyond that. We've become known as a valuable partner in all things digital marketing. So from pixel to print, we can make it happen from design-wise. If you need help with Google ads, Facebook ads, any social media stuff, give us a call. We do a free consultation and we can figure out if there's any way we can help. So we'd be happy to help you get your brand out there and really establish a solid digital strategy. Just let us know how.
Or even, and Steve kind of left this server. We are even a Dell rep, and we help with anything in your office. So pretty much we could help you once you get your office. We could help set your computer up all the way to being found online.
Wow.
We are the one-stop shop for internet production.
All right. Well, thanks you, everybody. Have a nice day and have a nice weekend. Hopefully everybody will tune in with our next session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.